Hey everybody, this is Perch. I want to throw a little bit of promotion out for a book I haven't read, but I know the writer on the book, and you do too. It's Joe Corallo. And this book is Becstar. It's by Mad Cave Studios. So let's just kind of help things out a little bit. Mad Cave is not a major publisher by any stretch of the imagination, and it gets kind of lost when a comic retailer is basically doing their orders. They're sticking with kind of the big money makers. They go through their Marvel, their DC, their Image, and then they're kind of, at this point, Boom's in there, and the attention starts to wander away. It shouldn't, but that's normal. That's the problem comic retailers currently face, is that there's just a lot of comics going on, and you tend to put the most focus into the ones that you're selling hundreds of copies of. But there's a lot of good books there on the outside, and in fact, a lot of the books that really highlight different genres, different storytelling types, the kind of stuff we talk about and want in comics, these different ideas, they're out there. But in many cases, these books are not finding their audience because the retailer's in the middle, and the retailer is getting squeezed with, 800 issues of, between the tie-ins for King in Black, heading into the tie-ins for Heroes Reborn, heading into whatever DC's doing with kind of their stuff, and it's just it's a lot. So books tend to get forgotten. So one book I'm hoping isn't forgotten is Joe Corallo's new book, Becstar. Now, you've heard Joe Corallo on this channel. You've heard us do sarcastic pitches. You've heard us do retrospectives. I think Joe does not know I'm doing this video, by the way, so I hopefully am not embarrassing him in any way. But I mean, the guy's very, very clever. He's got a really smart mind for a lot of comics. He knows his history. He understands kind of what's going to sell and what's not. And when we've talked about these books, I mean, we've talked about things like Kraven's Last Hunt and Batman City of Crime. We've also talked about stuff like Scott Pilgrim. One of the unique bits about Joe is that Joe gets what is a popular, engaging story, even if the genre is radically different. Joe's not a guy who's like, I like slice of life and just slice of life, and this is a comic you're going to get. He's able to, appreciate good writing and a lot of different things. And I've read many books by Joe, and Joe's a great writer. And you can tell it when you watch these videos and you hear him talk about his ideas. And who wouldn't want to see City of Bruce? I mean, come on. That is the idea of the century right there. But he's got this new book, Becstar. As I mentioned, it's by Mad Cave Studios. Mad Cave Studios, again, is a relatively small publisher. They have been around for a little bit. They've got some books out. You can get to them. But they are in that state where you, the person listening to this, needs to go to your comic shop and say, hey, don't forget about this stuff. Order this for me. I want in on this Mad Cave book. And I'm hoping I want to talk to some of the people who are involved, in particular, Mark London, who founded the company back in 2014. And this is, they've got a good team of people who are trying to put out good content. As I mentioned, I've read many of the books. They're good books. They match a genre. So it's if you're in for science fiction, you're getting a science fiction book, and that's what else can you ask for? So it's good stuff. But they are at the place where you, the reader, needs to reach out to your comic shop and help prod that along a little bit. So what is Becstar? Again, I haven't seen any pages. I've talked to Joe about it. We've heard him on the live streams talk a little bit, give like the elevator pitch to this book, but this is a sci-fi book. I think it's the synopsis basically reads as following. Becstar is a star-hopping mercenary gone full-time gambler light years away from Earth. Leaving her old life behind with the help of her magical lucky dagger and friend Sally Sulin, Becstar ekes out a living under the nefarious Shadow Syndicate's radar. But when a mysterious girl appears with grim news and an urgent quest where the fate of the universe hangs in the balance, Becstar has no choice but to join and regret it immediately. This book, again, we've seen just a few basic pages of it. It looks nice. I think it definitely has a unique art style. That is Lorenzo, who is the artist. He is looks like he's doing some basically leaning into the sci-fi concept. I appreciate the detail work on the ships and the other things from what we can see in kind of the early press pages. The character designs look like something different in sci-fi. It's a mix of kind of current contemporary style meet space. It's not just everybody running around in kind of silver jumpsuits, and it still feels unique and different. it's curious. I like, by the way, this is very, very silly, but in these character design sheets that they show, they've got the kind of the primary color palette that's used for these characters. Nobody cares about this in the sense of the comic story that's being told, but I appreciate it for what it's worth. I like seeing this. This is the kind of the inside baseball stuff that I enjoy. I do think people are going to look at this and go, oh, there's three women on the cover. One of them's got kind of short, looks like bluish hair. Another's got pink hair. This is I know what this comic is like. Well, again, when we look at some of the other pages, we're seeing some pretty kind of intense sci-fi stuff. We're seeing ships. We're seeing blood. We're seeing violence. We're seeing quests. I think this is one of those cases where you've heard Joe on this channel. You've heard him talk about the comics he loves. You've heard him talk about things like City of Crime and building these environments and putting this stuff together. If you've never read a comic by Joe, but you've heard him on this channel, it's worth giving him the benefit of the doubt that you're going to get a good story. I think you shouldn't look at this and go, well, I see three girls on the cover, so no, thank you. I don't want that. Consider the guy who's writing this and everything that he said on this channel and everything that he's talked about in terms of what he's interested in. And I feel very confident we're going to get a good story. Joe gives this quote. He says, having seen Mad Cave Studios expand over the past couple of years, I was ecstatic to be approached about contributing to their ever-growing library of comics. Becstar was an opportunity for me to have fun writing the kind of fantastical sci-fi stories I personally love, while also telling a deeper story about losing the people important in your life who defined you and having to build yourself back up again. I'm grateful to have been given this opportunity and hope my enthusiasm shines through. I hope it does too. So here's what you need to do. Basically, reach out to your local comic shop, tell them you want it, reserve an issue. Come on, you've put it this way. If you've listened to this channel, you've enjoyed it. I know a number of you have said, hey, what about super chats and how we give money to? How about this? How about you just give the money to this comic? Try buying it. It's $2.99, $3.90. What price is this comic? I think it's $2.99. I may be horribly wrong. But I think this is a case where the Final Order Cutoff is a little less than a month away. It's March 25th. What you need to do is reach out to your comic store before March 25th and basically say, hey, I want this comic. I want to see it. I think it's worth checking out. I'm excited because I do have the first issue that is sitting here waiting for me. I deliberately wanted to do this before I read that first issue. That way I can say, oh my God, it's terrible later. And I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I wanted to just basically say, in terms of how comics get done, small books like this benefit a huge amount from initial orders. So March 25th, that's Final Order Cutoff. And what's going to happen is that basically the studio, the Mad Cave, comes to understand a little bit about how this thing is going to go around that date. And at the indie level, if enough of you kind of spread word of mouth, let your comic shop know, get this thing ordered, boost this thing up a little bit, then it's great for the creative team. It's great for the book. And I just got to stress again, the person behind this is somebody that many of you have enjoyed very much. Let's go, let's support Joe here. Let's help his book out and see where this can go. It looks like a fun premise. I like some crazy sci-fi. I've heard some people talk about a Han Solo type adventure. There's been lots of different pieces to it. Just get out there and basically let's give this a shot. Call your comic shop, say, hey, I want to give first issue of Becstar a chance. You're $2.99. Again, I may be horribly wrong and I'm just misrepresenting the price all over the place. Hopefully not. It's not going to be, this isn't going to be $25. It's going to be relatively cheap. It's a good way to support a guy who's given a lot to this channel and I think has a really great, forget about that part, got a great creative mind. He's entertained us all. Let's see if he can entertain us here in a comic book. So call your shop, ask for Becstar, Becstar, STAR, Becstar number 1, and let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get this thing pushed out a little bit. I'll talk about this again when we get close to this thing, but I owe it to Joe. He's given a lot of time to his channel and all of us by talking up different comics and pointing us to different things and just having fun as well. So I think it's worth it. Let's support this book, and I think in addition to just supporting a good guy, we're going to get a good read. There's nothing wrong with that. So there's your mission. Call your shop, get this thing ordered. Let's spike this number and surprise some people with how well this book does. Thanks for listening.